Alright guys, welcome back to another video. I know it's been a very long time, way too long since we've had any content on the 300XC-W, but we're here. We got it back. Zach is off in basic training right now for the National Guard. Well, I think it's just normal basic training, but he's joining the National Guard, not the actual Army. So anyway, super proud of him, very thankful for him and what he's doing there. It really is awesome. So he's gone for a while. That's why Richie's been here. If you guys are new here to the channel, you should go check out all of our awesome stuff. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel. We do a ton of cool stuff. Just normal shop videos, ride videos, review videos, instructional videos, every kind of video you can think of. But we have the 300XC-W now at our disposal since Zach is gone. This was his gift from me to him because he is such a rad employee, and also it made a lot of sense for YouTube, so that's why it's here. And today we are going to do some cool stuff. I'm really excited. You guys already saw the thumbnail, but join me over at the bench and we'll take a look at what we got. Bum, 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 the long-awaited TSP, two-stroke performance, ECU tune, and high compression head. I'm so stoked about this, guys. We went with the full head and insert instead of just doing the insert because, you know, why not? That's absolutely beautiful. Also, it does provide a little bit more room for coolant, which theoretically would make it cool better, but I don't know. It's just cool looking, let's be honest. As always, comes with O-rings and crush washers, which is super cool, and the ever-present blow pop. To be clear, this is from Two Stroke Performance and from South Bay Motor Performance. Steve Boardman at South Bay Motor Performance is the exclusive ECU reflash dealer for the United States. I know Slavens is going to be carrying TSP, which I think is hilarious because he hadn't even heard of it and was, I think, even maybe, I don't know if I would say bad-mouthing, but discounting TSP early in this whole thing. When I went with TSP and all that, he had his own thing. He had all kinds of troubles with it. I don't know who was making it for him, but it wasn't TSP. He was trying to do his own thing. That failed miserably, and now he's using TSP. Good on him for realizing his mistake and going with the best in the business for this kind of situation. But Steve at South Bay is the only guy allowed to reflash ECUs. So if you want to use us, we can get you this stuff. We are a TSP dealer, and we can get you all the stuff too, and we can take care of shipping it to South Bay, getting it back, and taking care of all that stuff. So anyway, let's show you what it takes to install one of these things on a 2024 300XC-W. I got to take the seat and tank off first. All right, so the next thing we got to do is drain the coolant because coolant does run through that head. So I'm going to go get a pan. We'll drain the coolant out of it, and then comes the easy part. And guys, Zach is running an SXS skid plate, and it is really sweet too. Like, I'm definitely enjoying my Tusk one. I think it's really good. This is the other one. If you're looking for plastic skid plates, those are the only two I would even consider. And honestly, John at SXS is a rad guy, so I don't know. I might look to him first. His skid plates aren't quite as form-fitted as the Tusk one, but man, they're nice. So yeah, either way, you really can't go wrong either way, guys. Both of them are very good. I have to say that the design of the Tusk front mount is better because it stays in place when you remove it. And so that means that you don't have to fiddle with trying to hold the bracket up. John's has a bracket like kind of a normal style. It works obviously very well. But the Tusk one's pretty sweet because once you get it in place, it's kind of a little bit harder to get in place. But once you do, then it just bolted up and you don't have to deal with that. So I guess that's a win for the Tusk. The other win for Tusk is that it only has 4 bolts and it drops right off. Seahorns is It's got, I guess, 6, which you don't really have to do. Actually, take that back. You don't really have to put the middle one on. He's got a bracket here for the middle. You don't really need that on there. So, I mean, with these two on the side, I'm going to try actually mounting it without that. Don't tell Zach. But if we do, then that brings this up, you know, like I said, the only real difference is the front bracket. So, anyway, let's drain the coolant real fast. All right, guys, coolant's out. We're ready to go. This is actually super easy. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna take that hose off, which I should have shown you from the other side, but you know what it is. Take that hose off and take the spark plug. Actually, we're gonna leave the spark plug in it, take the cap off, obviously, but that will help hold that inner insert in as we take it off, and we'll loosen all these 13 mil bolts, get the head off. Once we get that off, we will take a look inside, see what it looks like, and then I'll show you what it looks like to reinstall this. Nice work, KTM. They've run the, let me just show you. The wiring harness is zip tied directly over the spark plug cap. So I'm sure with enough like force, I can get that off, but I'm gonna cut this zip tie and I'm gonna zip tie it up and out of the way a little bit. As expected, it is a little bit tight. There we go. Just tap it with the plastic hammer. And there we go. This is an interesting looking head here. So hang on, I'm gonna show you this. It's super interesting. So since it doesn't have a Kickstarter, we gotta put it in gear and then roll the wheel, which is silly, but let's take a look inside. All right, it looks good. That's just oil. I'll wipe that off. Looks really good in there, which it should. I forget how many hours. We'll check on this here shortly, but looks really good, guys. I'm happy with that. So now, to install the TSP head, well, actually, here, let's take a look at this head. All right, so here is the interesting part. Yeah, there we go. See, you see that? Like some funky buildup right on the electrode. Well, not the electrode, but the tab. Look at that thing. That's weird. That is super weird. And this is the BR70S that we installed. Everything else looks good. That's just a weird buildup. I don't know why it would do that. Super funky. So we're gonna get a new plug, and then let's take a look at this head. Just install it in comparison. So obviously it's shiny. And it's interesting. So this one's got 2 steps. So this one has 2 steps here, guys. It's really hard to see, but you can see the squish band on this is quite a bit wider, and then the dome is smaller. So that's where the compression is coming from. They didn't like lower that just a whole bunch. It is lower for sure. Like the distance between the squish band and the next step is quite a bit different. So that's where another place you're getting compression, but they're also gaining compression by making the actual combustion chamber smaller. So this is the high comp head, not the medium comp. We went with high comp because I believe the W needs more help than the XC, just because it's a little bit lazy. And then everything else looks about the same. Obviously this head is just really nice and machined and happy and whatever. This head's just fine. There's nothing wrong with the cast head. Make sure you guys understand. I know that. There's literally nothing wrong with this head design. This one's shinier and prettier. Also, it does allow for a little more coolant, but again, I really don't think that makes much of a difference. TSP also sends you with a new O-ring here, which is always good. And now let's install it. It's super easy. The way to install this thing, guys, we're going to take the O-rings out of that head. We're going to put the new O-rings into that head. We're going to take a new spark plug. We're going to put this in here like that. I'm gonna get a new spark plug, put it in there so we can hold it and keep this thing up as we set it on. I'm gonna set it all on there, I'm gonna bolt it down. So yeah, just give me a second here. Now we're just gonna set this head on. It's nice, it's got a little arrow right there, which points forward. Obviously, if you paid any attention taking it off, you should know where it goes because of this part. But I'm gonna set that down in there and then get the holes lined up, and then we're gonna use the brand new crush washers and bolt this thing down. All right, so this is gonna be satisfying and absolutely drive some of you absolutely crazy. First of all, some of you can be satisfied to see me pull out a torque wrench, because I don't at all really that often, because, well, just because you don't really need it that much. So, but what's gonna be crazy is I'm just pulling a number out of my butt. It's not really out of my butt because I've been using this number for quite a while. And, but there's a word that's gonna drive you nuts. So I like to put these at 25 foot-pounds heavy. That heavy comes from actually, turns out I gotta use a different torque wrench, hang on. There we go. So that heavy comes from my time as a carpenter, when we'd be cutting something and you're down to the 16th of an inch, but you need to go just a little bit more or a little bit less. So we go, 33 and 3/16 heavy, or 33 and 3/16 light. So I go to 25 foot-pounds and I just go a little bit past it. Now I could just go 26, I could, whatever. This is how I do it. Two-stroke heads, guys, it's not super important to have the torque exactly right, because, one second. It's a disc. There's nothing spinning in it, whatever. Four-stroke heads, it's crazy important to get your torque right and to do it in the right pattern and all that stuff. It's super, super, super important for the life of the motor. For these, I just crisscross, go 25 heavy, and we're good to go. For instance, 25.3. All right, so now that that's done, guys, you got to remember to tighten down your spark plug. I happen to know that maybe it's easy to forget that. So once you've done it by hand, you do all this work, and you're like, just get the thing started up. So gotta remember to do that. Let's tighten that sucker down. Now I'm going to zip tie that loom up out of the way a little more. It's got this cool little bracket welded to the frame, but when you use that, which is what they did, it ends up holding it down right on top of the friggin' spark plug cap. So we're going to use it just around the frame. I'll show you. End up with a little more room. Check this out. There's a little tech tip for you guys. The normal thing, it's like right kind of underneath there. And like I said, we zip tie it to that, it holds it down and right on top of it. Now we got room, we can actually get that thing off. All right, I'll hook the coolant up, pour coolant back in it. I'm actually gonna put Evans in this thing. It just had normal coolant in it before, but we're gonna put Evans in it. I like Evans in two-strokes, especially two-strokes with fans. So yeah, let's get that in here. I'll put the tank back on and then we'll fire it up. Oh, actually, I forgot. The most important part. Obviously, we're just gonna plug that in, but I'll show you me plugging it in because it's awesome. So guys, if you've watched enough of my videos, you know I don't love the new radiator caps on these things, but I do like the new system of not having the overflow be in the neck of where the filler or the cap goes, because that way when you kind of, if you splash a little bit around the neck or whatever, it doesn't just run onto the ground. It actually comes through the cap for that. So that's actually kind of nice. If you filled enough things with coolant, you know what I'm talking about. If you fill it up just a little too much, even if it doesn't overflow the lip, on the old style, it runs out the overflow. So, Bulletproof Designs little cap tool. I love it. I'm just not strong enough. I know some burly dude who's not manly enough. Whatever. Tank back on. All right, let's see if it fires up. Sweet. I'm gonna fiddle with that, the idle and all that good stuff. I'll bolt everything back on and we'll go take it for a rip in the parking lot. But make sure you guys subscribe because this video is gonna end here with me just riding around the parking lot, but we are taking this thing out and gonna beat on it and see how much better it is. I know it's gonna be a lot better than stock. All right, guys, initial impressions is that is really good. Sorry, it's kind of windy out here, but yeah, that feels way better than it did stock. It defaults to the green map, so that's the more aggressive map. We guys still waiting on a stupid map switch for this thing, so I will take it off of my bike if it doesn't show up here in the next day or two for all the test rides and things like that. So make sure you subscribe, guys. That feels really good. I'm really happy about that. Yeah, stay tuned. We got lots more coming on this bike.